We will be taking today's notes in the second section of the foldable, which is called Rearranging Formulas. The same properties that we did for solving equations and multi-step equations, but this time we're going to have more variables in the problem. So when the directions say solve each of the following for the specified variable, it's going to tell you on this problem that we have to solve it for h. So the goal is to get this h all by itself. The first thing that I want to try and get rid of is this multiplying by a half. To cancel out the multiplying by a half, I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. I'm going to multiply this side by 2. So I end up with 2a equals b h. I'm still trying to get the h by itself, and since the h is being multiplied by the b, I need to divide by b. And I have to do that on both sides of the equation. These b's cancel out, so my answer is h equals 2a over b. I need to solve my second formula for w. So here's the w that I'm trying to get all by itself. I have v on the other side, and this is an L and an H that are both being multiplied by the W. So in one step, I can get rid of both. If I divide by the L and the H, that will cancel each of those out. So I have to do the same thing on the other side, divide by L and H. So my answer is W equals V over L times H. Now, when it comes to a multi-step equation like this, and like the ones that we were doing on Friday, I use a little trick to remember which problems or which part of the problem to get rid of first. If you write down the order of operations, parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction, when I'm trying to solve and get a variable by itself, I'm going to start at the bottom of the list and work my way up. So I need to get rid of the addition and subtraction first. So on this problem, the x is what I'm trying to isolate. It's being divided by a, but it's being subtracted. We're subtracting 5. So this is what I need to try and get rid of first. So I need to add 5 to both sides. That leaves me with x over a equals b plus 5. Then to get rid of this a, I have to multiply both sides by a. So my answer can be written in two different ways. I can either write x equals, and I'm going to move the a out front, a times b plus 5. Or if you want to go ahead and distribute that a through, you can have ab plus 5a. So either one of these are your answer, and I believe MathXL will accept both of those answers. Alright, on the next equation, we are solving it for h. So the first thing I need to do is figure out where the h is in my formula, and it's right here. So that means I'm going to have to get rid of all of this other stuff and move it to the other side of the equation. So again, looking at my order of operations, I'm going to start with anything that's being added or subtracted to that h. Right here I have 2 pi r squared that's being added, and it's a positive 2, so I need to subtract 2 pi r squared from both sides. That will cancel. On the left, now I have s minus 2 pi r squared equals, and now on the right I have 2 pi r h. For the second part of this problem, the 2 pi and r that are over here with the h are now being multiplied. So I have to divide both sides by 2 pi r. And I divide over here by 2 pi r. These all cancel. So my answer is h equals s minus 2 pi r squared over 2 pi r. If you want to go ahead and simplify, you can break this down because there's 2 pi and r on both top and bottom of this part. But be careful because you can't just cancel it out of the top. So if it were me, I would try and just put this in Math Excel. If you want to reduce, you're going to have to break the top up into 2 separate fractions. So it's going to be h equals, you have the s over the 2 pi r minus, now the second part you're going to have 2 on top and bottom, pi on top and bottom, and r on top and bottom, but you have an extra r on top, so it will simplify to just r. But again, if you're not confident in your ability to reduce those fractions, just go with that answer and Math Excel should accept it. The next equation is asking me to solve for v. Right here is my v. So I have 5t squared that is being subtracted. I need to add 5t squared to both sides. That cancels. So I have h plus 5t squared equals v t. Now, the only thing that's left over here with the v is the t. And since those two are being multiplied, I need to divide by the t. So this answer, v equals h plus 5t squared over t. And again, this is what I would go with if I'm not confident in my ability to reduce these fractions. So try putting that in, answer in. But if you notice there's a t on top and a t on bottom, that will reduce in this part of the fraction. So when I break it up, my h from the first part, h plus, that h has to go over the t. The second part is 5t squared over t. So I have 5t because the extra t on top and bottom will cancel. On these last two examples, I showed you a way of reducing the fractions. I'm not overly concerned that you're able to do that right now. My main concern is that you are able to get the variables that it's asked for all by itself. This is just like it would be a problem if all of these were numbers. The only difference is your answer will not be a single number. So when you're solving a formula for a specified variable, your answer is still going to be in the form of a formula. Now, the sixth example is an advanced type of formula because we are asked to solve for x. And if you look over here, there are actually two x's. So we need to do a trick, which we'll deal with a lot more as this semester goes on. But the trick is that we need to factor out this x so that we can get it into being a single x. A is being multiplied by x, and b is being multiplied by x. So basically, I'm doing a process called factoring, but several students have come up with their own term for it, and they call it undistributing. If we were to use the distributive property, we would multiply x by a, and x by b, and we would get this answer up here. I'm pulling the x out, so it's the reverse of doing the distributive problem. Once I have this done, now you can see that my x is being multiplied by a plus b, so I need to divide both sides by a plus b. So my final answer, x equals c over, and we don't need the parentheses, so I'm just going to put a plus b on the bottom. So that's a little trick when you have two variables that you're going to need to factor them out. Make sure that you only have the variables, the terms with those variables in it before you factor it out, and that's how you will solve a problem like that. The seventh and final example is a challenge. I'm going to ask that you pause the video, and I want the students to work on this problem and get as far as they can. I will go through and explain after you've had some time to work on it, but use some of the properties that we've talked about, and you're trying to get the x by itself. Okay, the first thing that you're going to need to do is to distribute the a to both parts over here and the c to both parts over here to get rid of those parentheses. And I'm just going to write my letters in alphabetical order. So as I distribute, I get 3a t x minus 2ab equals c dx minus 2c. Here are my two x's. So I need to get those to the same side of the equation and this to the other side since there is no x in it. So I'm going to subtract the c dx over to this side, and I'm going to cancel that out. And now I need to add the 2ab to the other side. Rewriting this, I get 3a tx minus c dx equals, I'll just write this one first because it's positive, 2ab minus 2c. Here are my two x's, so I'm going to have to do that factoring trick that we just talked about. So x comes out front, 3at minus cd equals 2ab minus 2c. The x is isolated on the outside, so I'm going to divide by what I have in parentheses. On both sides. And that's going to become my final answer. X equals 2ab minus 2c over, and again I don't need the parentheses, 3at minus cd. So this is a challenge problem. This is a lot harder than most of the problems that you'll be dealing with. But if you were able to solve this one, then you should have no problem on this section of the homework. Your Math Excel assignment should be online. So again, if you have any questions, you can ask your instructor and I will respond to them as quickly as possible. Thanks.